We hear so much about AI doing these just absolutely incredible things, right? Planning tasks, taking complex actions, operating almost entirely on its own. But honestly, that leaves a massive, glaring question that we really need to answer. When an autonomous agent gets something wrong, who actually catches it? Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the wild world of AI agents, breaking down exactly how they work, how they fail, and who is actually keeping an eye on them. So, here is our roadmap for the explainer today. We'll start with the oversight illusion, then look under the hood, talk about failing gracefully, and finally wrap up with the unseen reality. Let's get into it. Section 1. The oversight illusion. Who is really watching the AI? Now, this is arguably the most pressing, anxiety-driven question we can ask about this technology right now. We've willingly handed these systems so much autonomy, but the totally natural fear is, well, what actually happens when nobody is looking? To answer that, we have to talk about a huge buzzword you are going to hear everywhere: human in the loop. Basically, this is a system design where a human is involved at some specific point in an agent's process. They are there to check, approve, or make a decision that the agent simply cannot make on its own. Think of it as a checkpoint or a gate built directly into the autonomous workflow. It's there entirely, so the AI doesn't just run completely unchecked from start to finish. So, how does this actually look in the real world? Let's take a standard customer service example. In step 1, the agent instantly processes a routine refund that's under 20 pounds. Totally automatic, no human needed. But moving to step 2, let's say a customer asks for their 5th refund in just 3 months. The agent recognizes this as unusual and flags it. It literally stops and puts that specific request into a queue. Finally, in step 3, a real human reviews that flagged edge case and makes the actual final call. The agent handles the volume, the human handles the nuance.
But here is where things get really interesting, and honestly a bit concerning. There is a massive, stark contrast between oversight on paper and genuine functioning oversight. A lot of companies use human in the loop as a get-out-of-jail-free card. I mean, if a human is tasked with reviewing 100 agent outputs a day, spending barely 30 seconds on each, that's not oversight. That is purely corporate theater. Functioning oversight means the human actually has enough time, enough context, and the actual authority to make a meaningful intervention.
Okay, Section 2, under the hood, tools, teams, and permissions. Let's drag some of these background processes out into the light.
If you think of an AI agent as just a brain, its tools are essentially the hands it uses to interact with the world. And they can do a lot. They can do web searches for real-time info, read and write data files, access your email and calendar to schedule things, or even write and execute small chunks of code. But the most remarkable and frankly slightly spooky tool is browser use. This is where the agent literally sees a web page, clicks buttons, and fills out forms exactly like a human sitting at a keyboard would. So the absolutely crucial takeaway here boils down to this one idea. An agent is only as powerful and only as risky as the specific permissions it's been given. Tools are basically permissions. They are the exact things the agent is formally allowed to pick up and use. Which brings us right to the principle of least privilege. It's common sense, right? You wouldn't give a basic customer service agent the ability to wipe or modify your company's core database. A well-designed AI agent should only ever have access to the exact tools it needs to get its specific job done. Because the more tools an agent has, the more it can accomplish, but also the more it can potentially break or misuse, even if it's a complete accident. And that risk? It multiplies incredibly fast when we start looking at multi-agent systems. A single agent doing a task end-to-end is pretty straightforward to monitor, but things get genuinely complex when you have a manager agent orchestrating a whole team of specialized sub-agents. One agent does the research, passes it to another who writes the draft, and passes that to a checker. It's an incredibly powerful setup, no doubt, but it also means one tiny mistake by an agent early in the chain can corrupt literally everything downstream before a human is even alerted. Moving on to Section 3, failing gracefully. What actually happens when agents make mistakes? Because they will make mistakes. Agents can fail in a few distinct ways. Sometimes they just pull wrong or outdated information. Sometimes they misunderstand the goal. They do something technically correct, but it's totally not what you actually asked for, which, let's be fair, humans do all the time too. Or sometimes a tool just breaks, a website won't load, so the agent gets stuck. But the most consequential failure mode by far is overconfidence. An agent that just blindly barrels forward at full speed without stopping to check its own work is a massive, massive risk. So, to catch those failures, developers build in vital recovery methods. They use confidence thresholds, meaning the system actually knows when to stop and say, hold on, I'm not sure about this, I need a human. They also use sandboxing, which lets the agent test out its actions in a safe, controlled environment first. And crucially, they keep detailed audit logs. Everything the agent did is recorded. This is incredibly important for accountability, especially in highly regulated spaces like healthcare or finance, so we can trace back exactly why the AI made a bad call.
Finally, let's hit Section 4, the unseen reality. Let's look at agents in our everyday lives.
We're moving out of the theoretical here because agents are already deeply embedded in your routine. At work, they're saving you time by quietly triaging your emails or running automated meeting prep so you don't waste 10 minutes trying to remember what you talked about last week. In your personal life, they are monitoring your health wearables to flag an elevated heart rate or proactively rebooking your delayed connecting flight before you even get out of your Uber at the airport. You actually interact with this unseen reality constantly, especially with your money. An automated agent can decide in literal milliseconds to block a fraudulent credit card transaction happening in Barcelona. And when it works flawlessly like that, we don't even really think of it as AI. But that exact same invisible technology can also obscure the reasoning behind a rejected mortgage application. When an agent declines a loan and the criteria is completely hidden from you, suddenly, transparency and accountability become incredibly real, high-stakes issues. But beyond just finance, agents are doing something amazing. They're lifting our cognitive load. Think about an adaptive tutor for a student. It's an infinitely patient system that can explain a complex math concept 17 different ways without ever getting frustrated. Or consider your household admin. Agents are starting to manage grocery lists, place repeat orders, and track deals. They are removing that exhausting mental overhead. It's not just doing the task, it's relieving you of the burden of having to remember to do the task in the first place. So, I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. These systems are already woven into the absolute fabric of your daily world. But based on everything we've unpacked today, how much control do you actually have? From the emails sorted before you even wake up, to the mortgage applications scored before a human ever takes a look, agents are already out there in the wild. Just remember, tools are permissions, and a human in the loop is a spectrum, not a simple on and off switch. Always keep asking what that actually means in practice. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and stay curious.